Welcome back to the Lore Loom, where we turn powerful books into simple stories you'll actually remember. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We share a new story every day. Today, we have a story about a kind man who loved his community garden. He always wanted to help everyone, but sometimes, helping the wrong person can cost you everything. Arthur was the heart of the Oakhaven community garden. For 20 years, his plot had been the brightest, his tomatoes the reddest, and his smile the whitest. He loved the friendly chatter, the shared tips, and the quiet joy of watching things grow. Arthur was known for his generosity, always ready to lend a tool or a helping hand to new gardeners. One sunny spring morning, a new face appeared at the garden gate. Her name was Elara, and she carried a small, sad-looking basil plant. She told Arthur a long story about how bad luck had followed her from her last town, how her previous garden had been ruined by a strange blight, and how she just needed a fresh start. Arthur's heart went out to her. He offered her the empty plot right next to his, the one with the best sun. "Welcome to Oakhaven," he said. "We'll get this basil thriving in no time." For the first few weeks, things seemed promising. Arthur spent hours showing Elara how to plant seeds, explaining the best watering techniques, and even sharing some of his special compost. They would chat while they worked, Elara sharing more stories of her misfortunes, always with a charming laugh that made her seem brave despite her troubles. Arthur felt a quiet satisfaction, believing he was truly helping someone turn their luck around. But slowly, tiny cracks began to appear. Elara's plot, despite all the help, never quite flourished. She would complain endlessly about the soil, the birds, the sun, or even other gardeners whom she felt were looking at her funny. Arthur found himself spending more and more time trying to solve Elara's endless list of problems, which seemed to grow rather than shrink. His own prize-winning tomatoes, usually his pride, started to look a little neglected. Then came the small borrowings. Elara would borrow Arthur's best trowel, only for it to reappear bent or chipped. His favorite watering can vanished for days, only to be found half filled with muddy water in a forgotten corner. Arthur felt awkward confronting her, always assuming it was just another piece of Elara's bad luck. The garden's peaceful atmosphere began to fray. Elara started arguing with other gardeners over trivial things, a shared water hose, the placement of a scarecrow, or the shade from a neighbor's tall sunflowers. Arthur, known as the garden's peacemaker, was constantly drawn into mediating these disputes, his usual calm demeanor slowly eroding. His old friends, like Martha, who had gardened beside him for years, started to keep their distance. They saw him constantly entangled in Elara's chaos, and it seemed to spread to him too. The annual harvest festival was approaching, the highlight of the garden year. Arthur usually won the best plot prize, his section a riot of color and abundance. But this year, Elara's plot was a disaster, tangled weeds, sparse vegetables, a genuine mess. She cornered Arthur, her eyes wide with what looked like genuine distress. "Arthur," she cried, "I'll be humiliated. Please, you're the only one who can help me. Just a little push, and it'll be fine." Arthur, despite his weariness, felt his old instinct to help kick in. He spent the entire night before the festival working on Elara's plot, weeding, pruning, even transplanting some of his own healthy pepper plants to fill her empty spaces. By dawn, his own plot looked tired, with noticeable gaps where his prize-winning vegetables had once stood. At the festival, Elara's plot looked presentable, even earning a small second-place ribbon for Most Improved. Arthur's plot, however, was clearly not its usual self, and he didn't win any prizes. Elara, instead of being grateful, complained loudly about her second-place ribbon, insisting it should have been first. Arthur felt a deep, crushing emptiness. He had given everything, and it felt like nothing was enough. Then, as the festival wound down, Martha, his old friend, approached him quietly. "Arthur," she said, her voice soft but firm, "I saw something last night." Martha told him she saw Elara, in the moonlight, deliberately snap a few branches from Arthur's prize-winning cucumber plants and subtly dislodge some of his tomato supports. "Just enough," Martha explained, "to make them look unhealthy, so you'd focus on her garden instead of yours." It wasn't just bad luck. Elara wasn't just unfortunate. She created her own misfortune and then dragged others into it. Arthur sat there for a long time, the truth settling over him like a cold rain. He remembered a saying from his wise old grandmother. Some people are like a leaky bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, they'll always be empty, and they'll just make you wet. He realized it wasn't about being unkind, but about self-preservation. Elara wasn't a victim of circumstance. She was a source of constant chaos, and by trying to fix her, he had allowed her problems to infect his own peaceful life. The next morning, Arthur found Elara already complaining to another gardener about the festival judges. Arthur walked up to her, his voice calm and clear. He told her he could no longer manage her plot or mediate her disputes. "Elara," he said, "this is your garden, and you must take responsibility for it." Elara tried her usual tactics: anger, tears, accusations. But Arthur stood firm, quietly but resolutely. After a few days, Elara packed her wilting basil plant and left the Oakhaven community garden for good, surely to find another group to infect. Slowly, Arthur's plot healed. He reconnected with Martha and his other friends, apologizing for his distraction and explaining his difficult lesson. The next year, the Oakhaven community garden introduced a new prize: the most harmonious plot. Arthur's plot, vibrant and peaceful, was the first to win it. He learned that protecting his own peace and energy was not selfish, but necessary to truly help himself and contribute positively to his beloved community. Here's the cool part. This whole story comes from a famous book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. It's inspired by Law 10. Infection: avoid the unhappy and unlucky. The idea that emotional states are as contagious as diseases, and associating with chronically negative, unstable people will draw misfortune onto you. Our character is made up, but the lesson is very real. If you like this, the book goes even deeper. Link below. So what did this story teach us? First, negative emotional states and misfortune can spread from person to person, just like a disease. Remember when Arthur's own garden started to suffer because he was constantly trying to fix Elara's endless problems? That shows how easily someone else's chaos can become your own. Second, some people aren't just unlucky. They actively create their own problems and draw others into their drama, even charmingly. The twist with Elara deliberately damaging Arthur's plants wasn't just a betrayal. It was a clear sign that her misfortune was self-inflicted and contagious. Finally, it's not unkind to protect your own peace and energy by distancing yourself from infectors. What would you have done if you were in Arthur's shoes? Many powerful books hold life-changing wisdom, but who has time to read them all? That's what we do here at the Loom. We turn these important lessons into stories that stick with you. If you enjoyed Arthur's journey, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Let us know in the comments. What part of Arthur's story resonated with you the most? See you in the next story.